Where are you at on Fnatic? Speaking as someone who used to coach Razork and Humanoid, where are you at on this Fnatic team? Where are you at on them, mate?
Shit. I think Humanoid is a player that gets excited by like the prospect of opportunity. Like I think it's hard to get the player like Humanoid excited in regular season games. I think that he needs to feel like
I'm going to be Yamato's translator here, even though Yamato speaks literally 4 more languages than me. What he's saying is Humanoid doesn't try very hard in the regular season because he's fucking bored. And so in international play, he actually unleashes his latent talent, which is considerable, as we know. But that's the only thing that will actually get him going is the prospect of international competition. Really, if we just had a fucking Super League where Humanoid could actually compete against the best, I too think Humanoid would be a consistently world-class player.
No, for sure. Like Humanoid.
It's fault that Humanoid doesn't perform all the time. Like, come on, man, get your fucking arse in gear. It's not his fault.
No, I can imagine that Humanoid is giga excited because like the seasons where he won, right? 2021, it was like during COVID era. It's like he was always telling me, it's like, bro, like I'm winning these events. I'm going to Iceland for MSI and World Championship. Like it sucks ass. Like, well, I want to play in front of big crowds. I want to feel the energy. I want to travel. So I think that part of him is at the peak. For example,
yeah.
Like when we were playing at the World Champion 2022, like he found peak form just by like grinding the game. Like he was really, really meticulously grinding. Like him and Wunda were just on the game 24/7. And this is where a player like Humanoid really, really peaks.
Yeah,
I think with
Humanoid is just a guy who is born with a giant dick that also is perfectly curved at exactly the right angle. And the thing is that domestically, it's really just a bunch of like kind of mid-tier chicks. They all want the dick, by the way, the magic dick, but it's not. It doesn't excite him. He needs the supermodels of the LCK and LPL. That's what gets him going, guys.
This is you guys are 3 hours in, so.
I know.
Jesus Christ. No, Humanoid is cool. Razork, I think Razork, best jungler out of Europe. Yes, but his floor is like. Bro, I always say, bro, sometimes Razork is like limbo dancing with the devil, like he's just fucking down there. Like he has really, really shitty games, but I think that he has gathered enough like valuable experience for like Humanoid and Razork to have the potential to be dangerous as players. I think that June is good. I think that like with the removal of Trimby, there was a kind of a void in terms of I think the consistency of how their mid to late game has played out, but I think June is like good mechanically. Like my main fear is that mid to late game they make 2, let's say, big mistakes that even maybe a Team Liquid could punish or FlyQuest could punish, and I think that's where it gets scary. I think there is very little consistency in the mid to late game, and I think in the past Humanoid has always been very good at knowing how to farm side, but I don't feel the same when it comes to June and Razork in terms of how they connect. Oscarin's performance is also kind of strange. Like I think it's just been worse this year than the previous year. But I think Fnatic, in my mind, still I think they have a higher ceiling than FlyQuest and Team Liquid. But their floor is they could maybe like drop games against like the likes of PSG. And it's so hard to judge a build because they have the situation where they only like scrim now for what it is, 5 days. And
why are they like this, by the way? So like G2 comes early. Now they're the ones they're not even actually participating in the play-ins. Both FlyQuest and Team Liquid are like boot camping early on. FlyQuest is in Korea, and Fnatic's just like, yep, we're just gonna fly out a few days before the event. Who the fuck were they even scrimming in Europe right now? Just like like the teams in the ERL playoffs? Is that who they were?
Honestly, I don't even know if they did. Like, I don't even know if they scrimmed at all. I think it's like on our end, 2022, we were just the victims of like the schedule because like we played the finals on September 11th. We were back in Berlin the 13th, and then play-ins would start 28th for us. But we had to we basically ran the whole gauntlet. We needed to take a couple of days off because no one was scrimming anyway because the other teams would all to qualify to the tournament. We could choose to take a break after running the whole gauntlet or scrim the only TCL team. So like we just made the tactical choice, and then we had to do like content days that we had to shove in, and then boom, 2 players got COVID, right? And then all of a sudden we walk into the tournament with a half a scrim day, you know, like playing the play-ins. So we were the victims of the schedule there. I think in the case of Fnatic, I believe that I think it's just a question of maybe like the financial side of it, because they are just using the tickets the right like users to send them out. And the other teams are like paying for their own trips to Korea, right? I don't know if they could have found like maybe a partnership or found like an agreement with Riot. I know that there's like LPL teams that are willing to like cooperate with you because, for example, back in 2019, when we bootcamped with RNG, bro, they like paid for everything. It's like, welcome, here we go. But they were also like ballers back then in terms of money, you know, they had the big venue, you know, it's like we spent 400 million on this, you know, like they had everything going on. So maybe the landscape is different, but it is, in our case, 2022, unlucky. Here, maybe is another case of maybe just financial side is rougher.
If that was the analogy for Humanoid, then obviously G2, they're the people who they fuck anyone. They'll literally fuck someone on day 1, on fucking day 20. But the thing is, because they have so much experience fucking everyone, they're kind of kinky. They're trying to get experimental.
They have every kink.
Yeah, they're doing all sorts of shit.
They even like playing sub to rogue for some reason. Like, who the fuck does that?
There you go.
That's
that's
like
a rare
kink is like
right
CBT,
there.
right? It's just CBT straight up.
Exactly.
Nice. What's next? What
Yeah,
have
you don't
guys
get
covered
this
so far?
content.
Let me ask you this question.
It doesn't happen on the dive, guys, by the way.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
this ain't on the dive.
Well, technically, it could have been on all those deleted episodes, but we'll never know, will we? Because they're in the vaults somewhere, aren't they? So whatever, you know. I mean, the joke there is like when I said I wanted to hear Naz's unreleased tapes, I meant those mixtapes by the
Jesus
rapper,
Christ.
not the fucking LCS president. Well, anyway, straight fired message. Right, here's the question, Yamato. You normally obviously fly the flag for like believe in yourself, do the impossible dream, all that. Do you believe it for G2? You think it's plausible?
I think it's very, very difficult. I think by the sheer virtue of just what the level of resistance they faced in the LEC, I think it's very hard to shadow box yourself into such a shape when the region at the core is just underperforming quite heavily. I think that there's a big conversation about what can be done in Europe to improve it, but I think it is going to be such a big leap that they need to make in order to achieve like that level of consistency in early game, because I do think macro-wise they do look sharper this year than last year. I think in terms of how they've extended how each player understands information and how BB and Caps just keep stealing side waves from every team in the LEC and keep winning games off of it because they just assess information real time as individuals rather than 5 as a group. Because all the other LEC teams, they kind of react slowly. They do everything a little bit more, let's say, robotic. When how you assess information is always about like you place your vision around mid and you try to achieve the steps of pushing mid and side with as little people involved as possible. So you want to spot enemy jungle, enemy support, and every G2 player just knows how to react to that. So I think macro-wise, I think that they can maybe like be on par with like the top 4 teams, of course, like the LPL and the LCK teams. But the question is like in terms of the precision early game, they've taken this approach where they pick like more scaling lanes bottom side sometimes. And I think when it's not as lopsided and one-sided their matchups in the 3v3 bot side, I think this is where I see a lot of imprecisions. That's where it gets scary. Like if they are going to play against Bilibili, Top Esports, G2, like Genji and so forth, like these teams are so damn precise when it comes to the early game that I don't know how they're going to get their foot through the door, besides maybe, of course, using lane swaps. But at this point, this is something that everyone's going to be studied, and these teams are going to be damn sharp at it too, right? So I am concerned, very, very concerned.
I mean, I'm not sure actually there's a lot of studying that can be done with lane swap. It's just kind of like the mad scientist experimental laboratory at this point in time. And G2 has put more time into running the experiments, right? So I don't... The lane swap in this meta, in this point in League of Legends, I don't think is a solved quantity. So, like, I actually do think G2 probably has pretty significant advantages on that front.
I would say that, like, I think the current variant of lane swapping, I would say, is less complicated than the previous one, due to, like, back in, like, back in before 2016 summer playoffs when they removed it, like junglers shared XP with top laners, right? And this was a very, very important aspect. There was no penalty for hitting like 5 people hitting the same turret. So you couldn't do the case where you basically like break the turret, you race, and then pretty much you create a situation where the wave bounces, and then you can choose who you funnel your economy into if you choose to match or mismatch, right? And I think right now it's just, oh, you pick Jinx, you keep hitting the wave, and if the enemy bot lane bases, then you base too, and then you just walk out on the lane where they don't. I think that we've lost a bit of like fun nuance that we had in the past when like sharing XP and like being able to TP on the wave was a part of it, because now it's kind of almost dumbed down, I feel. But maybe there's something that I'm missing. I've just looked at like every single game of lane swap that has occurred so far, and I'm trying to find like the actual depth.
Yeah, but there's only been a handful, so like I don't think it's solved by any means, right? So, and it's also been that there have been a bunch of different scenarios that have already played out. So we'll see, I guess. I mean, you might be right, but I think we haven't seen the end of the evolution yet.
Okay, I'm on the other side, so maybe we see MSI. Maybe there's something crazy coming out, because I hope so. You know, I hope so. I'm happy when teams show me something new. So maybe I'm losing my beginner's mind. You know, I'm just becoming rigid and old and rusty.
Well, I also think that we're seeing just different, even if it's not a full lane swap. I mean, what Genji did in game 1 of the finals versus T1 was really interesting from a macro perspective, even if it isn't like a lane swap. You know, just pressing tempo advantages and then moving out of those unfavorable matchups and playing around the 5-minute fortification timer is just another thing that's going to happen. You know, maybe being in a losing lane temporarily, but using top lane priority in order to mix it up, which is something Team Liquid has done very effectively in the past as well.
Yes. No, that sequence that you referenced was such a beautiful sequence. Like that was so gorgeous, because like everything made sense about it. Like everyone was in tune. Like with Keen matching into bot, the Rumble ult, pressuring like the Aatrox that's freezing his wave off base, and then just killing him as he slow pushes out. Like the main issue there is that Zeus doesn't have a correct decision, because like he could wait and do nothing, but if Rumble comes up and breaks the wave, it's just as bad. So it's like it's so beautiful on so many levels.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.